Welcome to Lift Your Leg. This is Monique Anstey from the Naughty Dog in Victoria, BC, author of As a Dog Thinketh.
And Jill Brown from Calgary, Alberta, the Bag Lady.
And Haley from Nanaimo, BC with the Chew Slipper.
Tonight is question answering night. And Haley is first up with her question.
That's just so mean. I do not compete and would love to hear how you as trainers adjust if you do your methods for non-sport handlers. What behaviors you think are absolutely necessary and what are nice to have?
Who wants to answer?
It's all the basic stuff, right? Like loose leash manners and good recall, probably crate training. It's all the basics.
Mine are a simple four. Your dog has to have loose leash. I don't want them in heel position. They're allowed out ahead of me. They can cross from side to side. They can sniff. They are forbidden to pull.
Yeah.
That's simple. So they don't need to be in heel position. They can wander around. They can enjoy their walk. Just don't pull my shoulder off. That's number one. Second one is they must allow handling and grooming and toenails. So I need to be able to put them in a restraint. I need to be able to groom, cut toenails, handle, just so I'm preparing my dog for the vet. Third is come when called. On the first call. And the last one is a sit or emergency down. I just need to be able to stop them. But that one I'm not doing with every single breed. I'm not going to work on that one with my Akita, my Chow, my Italian Greyhound.
So my question would be, are all these four rules that you have, do you have that the same for your sport dogs?
Yes.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with whether it's a sport dog or a non-sport dog.
These are domestics and apply to every single dog.
Except for Akitas.
And Mo the Chihuahua.
And Mo the Chihuahua. That's fair. I think she's wondering what the big difference is between handling a sport dog versus handling a companion dog. And I think the bigger one is that for Jimmy, I will let behaviors go that I probably wouldn't let go for my nice companion dog who lives in my house and sleeps in my bed. As in, Jimmy, if I let him greet someone, is not going to be polite about it. And I'm okay with that. It just means that I don't let him greet people. But I think there is a difference between handling sport dogs versus non-sport dogs, depending on the sport you're in. In my sport, I don't want Jimmy to have an awareness of people's personal space. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's funny because, so your sport dog there, you're saying basically you're letting him get away with stuff. But on the other hand, our sport dogs, we're asking for more as well in different areas, like more specifics. And maybe I'm just thinking in an actual training scenario. But like when I call my dogs when I'm just out walking around, I just want them to come to my vicinity. Versus if you're actually doing a training, you're out training with a group of people, you want more specifics. You want a perfect position when they come to you.
You said crate training is another behavior you want to have too.
Yes. And I think it works for both sport dogs and companion dogs because it doesn't matter what you're doing with them. They're still going to have to go to the vet or travel, or if you want to be potty training a puppy, crate training is the easiest way to do it.
Next question. It was for Haley. As an apprentice of Monique's, how did you cope with Monique's pivots as she trained the dog in front of her? Such as her training evolves and changes rather than following a set of guidelines. How did this shape you as a trainer?
It made me realize that dog training is not a cookie cutter solution. It's not A plus B equals C. So you have to look at each dog individually and decide what is the right course of action. So I think it made me a thoughtful trainer. I don't just say, this is the criteria that I train a dog, and I do it with every dog. I look at each dog differently of, okay, this is what this one needs, and this is what that one needs, and it's just different. I think it's really easy to get into a cycle of, this is what I do these three things, and then we move on to the next three things, and I just don't think that's fair given how different so many dogs are.
Do I need to explain this a little bit more?
Maybe.
What Alison is asking. When you train a whole bunch of dogs, you start coming across dog types. I might see one dog that behaves in a certain way, and I'm just going to file that in my memory bank. And then as I retrain that dog or train that dog, I'm learning what worked, what didn't work, and just filing that in my memory bank. Then 6 months from there, I'm going to get another dog that reminded me of that one. And I know I probably can train it the same way. I can then go back to what I've remembered. As you start training enough dogs, you're going to end up with, I don't know, I'm totally picking out a random number here, but let's just say you're going to come out with 50 dog types just from experience. And when you then start seeing that dog walk in your property, you just know how you're going to be training that one moving forwards. So you end up, once you've had hands on enough dogs, you start seeing the patterns, and then you know how to train that type of dog.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's a lot of trainers out there who have a set guideline of what they do.
I am not a recipe trainer.
No, and I'm glad that I didn't get trained under that, because I can't tell you how many times I think I'll go in training this dog this way, and then I meet the dog and I think, no, we got to start totally somewhere different. And I don't think I would have had those thoughts had I trained under someone who was a recipe trainer. I haven't heard it termed that way, but that totally is what they are.
I just got 2 board and trains last week, and both of them came here for exactly the same behavior. And both of their people are actually quite similar in their handling and personality type. They're going to maybe kill me now for saying that, but there are similarities there. Like, they're both very kind, nice people. And those 2 dogs, even though they look very similar in how they're behaving, they have done nothing alike in their training. They are getting completely different stuff.
Because they're completely different dogs.
Because they're completely different dogs. One's a street dog that needs freedom and builds with rules. She doesn't get better. She compresses it inside and explodes. And she could be a cheeky little bitch and a little bit sassy and spicy. And the other one is more like a pressure cooker who also internalizes, but in a pressure cooker way, and holds it in and gets sullen and takes it deep into his heart and is stronger in his badness.
I just have to say, I love how you talk about dogs. Like, it's so refreshing to hear people talk about dogs in these ways, because I think people look at dogs at such a surface level sometimes, and they can be so much more complex than that. It's always nice to hear you talk about dogs.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's very nice.
They do have personalities.
They sure
They
do.
do.
Yeah.
And that was the funny thing that came of my book, is that so many people have said to me they never realized dog had personalities until they read my book.
Really?
Huh.
I think that might be true before I met you. I think I understood that dogs are different, but then you delve into them and you can, I don't know, see their personality start to shine through once you're looking for them.
Yeah.
And I don't think I quite understood that before I met you.
Yeah, they're all little people.
It's weird.
They are not fur babies, but they are little people.
Right.
All right, next question. And knowing Monique, what advice would you give to her students to get the best out of her?
I think the big thing is to trust. This goes for any trainer you're going to train under. You need to trust them. Like, I had done some research on Monique and other trainers, and I knew I aligned with how Monique trained. Not that I fully understood it, but I liked what she had said. Her philosophy made sense to me. But you can't go in not trusting them and questioning what they're doing. You have to trust the process. So if you don't trust them, you're not going to go anywhere with it.
If you're not going to trust them, there's no point in taking
No,
that.
no, exactly.
Go with someone that you do trust.
You have to fully give in to the process and trust the person that is training dogs that you're learning under.
That's the hard part. You have to be all in.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's not going to work.
No.
But then what if you pick the wrong trainer and you go all in? Because I have so many people who have done that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think it's a learning experience. I went all in.
Everyone.
I certainly went all in with you, and I don't regret it at all. There was certainly times where you would do things and I thought, what? But I've seen her work dogs. I know she has magic.
You had almost gone all in with your previous trainer, though, prior to me. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, I 100% did.
And look what happened.
But then I met someone else that I trusted, and I was able to look back. And
okay.
But I don't think it was wrong of me to trust the trainer prior to you.
Trust in the knowledge. If you're going to somebody that has more knowledge than you, you have to you have to trust them until you don't. If there's something that they're doing that's in your mind glaringly wrong, then go somewhere else.
which is
But
what Haley did.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
but there's some stuff Monique does that's crazy, but
Hmm.
it doesn't make me run the other way. It just makes me go, where did she come up with that?
On a regular basis, I think
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, you have to
So
trust.
you got to trust them, or else it's not going to go anywhere. If you're only got one foot in the door, you're not going to learn what you need to learn.
Yep.
And you have to be open as a student because change isn't pleasant. And it depends. If you're coming here to learn better healing, yeah, it's going to be fun. If you're coming here because your dog bit 8 neighbors, it's not going to be so much fun. Because you have to push you out of your comfort zone to get you better.
Because
And
it's not, when it comes to that, it's not all about changing the dog. It
no,
has a lot to do with the
it's
handler
you.
at the end of the leash. Like it really does.
It does.
And
Like
if
in board and train, I might be rehabbing dogs, but then the owners have to catch up. They have to do just as much work as the dogs.
I would say sometimes I
Only
do more.
Yeah, and only they get 2 hours or 1 to 2 hours a week with me. The dog gets me a week.
They
It's
have to be
tough.
willing
Like
to
you
change to accommodate the
Yep.
nuances in their dog.
And some of it might seem so weird and you just have to suck it up and do it and wait and
My
see where
big
it
thing
takes.
was the trainer that you're with. If you're giving them money and paying for it, go all in. And if you come out the other side and it hasn't gotten you what you want, then go elsewhere. But not
Yeah.
going all in, you're not going to get what you want out of it regardless. So you might
Yeah.
as well give 100% and see where you're at.
My other advice would be learn everything you can from your first trainer, and there will come a day that you feel like you've outgrown them. Then quit and go to your second trainer. Don't start going to 2 people right off the bat. It just messes everything up.
Right.
So learn everything you can from the first, then part ways gracefully, and then go learn everything you can from the second, part ways gracefully, go learn everything you can from the third, and continue on.
Yeah.
But don't mix and match. It just muddies
No.
the water.
No, there's nothing wrong with going to other trainers, but yeah, mixing and matching it's confusing and it's hard to do both.
It's
Both
confusing
well.
for the dogs, and it's also very frustrating for the trainer when they're telling you to do A, B, and C, and then you go to trainer number 2 and they tell you to do D, E, and F.
Yeah.
And then you come back to trainer 1 and you're like, I did A, D, and F. If you've got one trainer that's teaching you how to do something, then follow that way
Yeah.
and stick with it. Don't piecemeal things together.
No, totally agree.
The other thing I would add is that, yes, I am a dog trainer, but really I think I'm a counselor for middle-aged women. Truthful here. And it's just through your dog that we're going to retrain you or counsel you. So be open and be vulnerable. Like it can sometimes be just raw and open and amazing. Like some of the stuff I've had dogs do for their people, like I've had a dog that pushed her owner to get her driver's license in her 40s. Another woman got out of a very abusive marriage. Like this, and it was so funny actually. I can probably say this out loud. Her dog had extreme aggression to people, wonder why. And she was such a mouse, wonder why. So I would build her up and make her strong, and she'd be successful for a couple of days. And then husband then had to bring her back down because he didn't like the strong person I was sending back home. So we just went through this cycle again and again and again until I'm out of here. And she left. The dogs will make you learn the lessons that you need to learn to get that change in your life, whatever it may be.
If you're
But
open to it.
But you have to be open to it. Otherwise, you're just going to end up hating your dog and probably your trainer too.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Next question. How do we change social attitudes to get more?
I can speak on this because I feel like I'm just a very green person in a sport. And it is very intimidating. And if I didn't have good people surrounding me in the sport, I think I would be long gone already. Because I don't want to say older generation in the sport, but I guess it is. they harbor and protect their sport, and they're not welcoming to new people. So I think it's more about the people who are already in the sport. We need to be better about welcoming in new people. We need to be encouraging and supportive and tell people that, oh yeah, you have some rescue dog from Mexico, like just come try, come have a good time. Even if you never compete, come train and have fun. It's not all about ribbons and winning first place. It's about having that relationship with your dog and having fun. And I think a lot of people have lost that ability. They're all so competitive. I don't know if it's all sports, but the sport that I'm in, certainly there's drama. and I just want to have a good time with my dog. Thank God I have people that also feel that way. So I'm surrounded by the right people, but
Haley has just made herself unwelcome at the next event.
no, I want to just
It'll
have a
be
good
a long
time.
day Saturday there, Haley. I'm not sitting with you. Jill, anything to add?
I was going to say, wherever there's dogs, there's going to be drama. So it doesn't matter what sport you're in, there's always going to be that competition factor.
Competition, I don't mind. I don't mind competition.
Oh, me neither. But it's when you start getting the politics in with the competition.
Yes.
And
when people start saying, like, where did you get that dog? That looks like a nobody dog.
Yeah.
Like, what does
You
it
guys
matter?
aren't helping. The question is, how do we get more people into it? You're getting them out of it.
People need to go back to a time where they were comfortable going out training. And by that, I mean in your local park or in a parking lot of a grocery store. Go out and do your training, but be ready to stand up for what you believe in. If somebody comes along and starts giving you a hard time because your dog has whatever piece of equipment on, be it a prong collar or harness or halty, whatever, people are going to come along and everybody's got an opinion. So you have to be ready to say either, I suggest you move along, or thank you very much for your opinion and continue on doing what you're going to do. We just need to have more of a backbone and not be afraid to be out there training our dogs. We're also afraid that we're going to have to put a correction on our dog. The general public standing around is going to blow up and attack us.
I think too, dog training has gotten so complicated, and there's big words, there's big meanings, there's so many theories, and there's so many do this. If you happen to do that, you're going to wreck your relationship with your dog. There's so much shit being fed to people. It's just annoying. I was at a traffic light a couple of weeks ago, and there was a man, probably, he looked like Santa Claus. So he's got his big long white beard and his messy white hair, and he's a big man, and he's standing there with his what looked like mother Chihuahua terrier cross, and then her baby in its little harness, and he's waiting at the light to cross the road. And I was watching him train his little puppy, and it made me think back to when I was learning. And I'm so glad people didn't have video cameras then, because it was terrible. But his communication was clear. So I didn't like what he did, but his communication was so clear. And his relationship with his two dogs was so beautiful that they understood what he was saying. And he just stuck by it. And then his one little puppy, he shut it down a little bit because he was giving little corrections for going forward towards cars. It was actually lunging at the cars, so his correction wasn't so inappropriate. And then the little puppy decided this isn't fun, so he hid behind dad's leg. And then puppy took one step forward and he bent down and he patted his little dog. He had amazing feel, like he knew. The dog got a little bit braver, came forward. He rewarded it, like acknowledged it, and made that dog feel strong, and then off they went. But when I saw him actively training his dog in his own way in this moment, rather than just sitting there looking like gobsmacked, not knowing what to do, I wanted to roll down my windows and clap. And then I thought, how inappropriate would I be if I did that? Like, it was just so cool seeing this guy just train his dog. Like, just do it. And he did.
Without all of the fluff.
He didn't have to check on his iPhone to see how he should deal with a dog going at a car.
Yeah.
He just did it. He just did what felt right to him. And it may not have been pretty, but he did it and he got the job done. And his little dog ended up going across the road with him with its little tail up in the air. So it was so cool. And I wish more people would do that. But we shame people for doing that now.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
There used to be a time, like when I was growing up, we had German Shepherds, and I think we did one class. I remember taking a young kid taking these shepherds to these classes, but generally my dad was just out there training these shepherds, and I'm sure he didn't have any background in training while he did it, but those shepherds listened to every word he said. They were well-trained shepherds according to living with them anyway.
Because he wasn't afraid of hurting their feelings.
No, he wasn't worried about people telling him not to do things. He just trained them how he thought they should do. Don't do that, do this.
I think this is the key. If you have a good relationship with your dog, you're consistent in your expectations, it really doesn't matter your form of communication, training with your dog, they'll get it.
Yeah,
Like-
agreed.
Like some of the people I watch and they have these wonderful dogs. I'm like, how do you have that dog? If I was a dog, I'd eat you. And they have this fantastic dog that just adores them. Dogs are so incredibly tolerant of our, I don't know, lack of communication with them or unclearness, lack of clarity when we're dealing with them. And they forgive us. So people just need to dive in and do it. And I think the other thing that all of this complicated dog training has gotten us is really dumb down the standards. Everyone should be able to call their dog off approaching another person or another dog. And in my municipality where I live, we just got that put into the bylaws as a definition of under control. So your dog is not allowed to approach any other park user without explicit permission. That's what it should be.
It should be, absolutely.
Nice.
You need to be able to stop your dog at a sit or a down. That's one of the other parts of our definition of under control. And they must stay there until they are released. If people actually train their dogs like that, we wouldn't be getting kicked out of all these parks and being forced to keep our dogs on leash everywhere. But instead, everyone goes, so my dog wants to says hi. Who cares? Does he pay the mortgage?
Exactly.
I don't care what you want. Keep him to yourself. So we need to stop being so indulgent about what our dog wants and start caring about what other taxpayers want
I lived
and
over,
raise our standard of expectations with our dogs.
agreed. I lived over in Europe for a year, and there was no, not that I saw anyway, this was, I don't know, 10 years ago now, but there was no dog parks, designated dog parks. Every park had dogs. A lot of them were off leash. I never saw dogs running up to other people that they didn't know. And I think it was the first time I saw dogs who were unneutered on a regular basis. But it was just respectful. People could be having a picnic in the field or whatever, and the dogs weren't allowed to run up to them. It was just so different than our North American standards.
If you're in Germany and no one will approach you to say hi to your dog, and they would look at you really strange if you asked if you could go say hi to their dog,
Yeah,
like buy your own.
yeah.
And in North America, it's like this.
It's the opposite.
I want to say hi to your dog, therefore you must allow me.
Yeah.
No. But the more people that go and say hi to your dog, the more you're teaching your dog to leave you on a walk and go say hi to everyone.
Yes.
I don't want them doing that. Stick with me.
Yeah.
Yep.
As I say that has to be put in balance here too. My dogs are allowed to go and molest my friends. That's fine. But they need to ignore strangers on a walk.
Or listen to you when you say, come here.
Yes. Did we answer Anne's question for her?
I was
think
just
so.
I was going to say that should be one more that's added into the domestics.
What?
Not letting your dog approach every person and dog that comes along.
It follows it by come. I think that covers it.
But I think some people think it's an all right thing to do, so it's not about their recall. They
Not
think
if you
people should
attend our
just suck
classes.
it up. No, that's
Well,
true.
Yeah.
But my dogs have just learned through teachings that I don't have to call them back when I see other people. They just really don't want to go and say hi.
You just ignore them. Yeah. It's a
So-
different culture. I just teach dogs to ignore strangers on walks. No, they're shit. I have the food, not them.
I saw a video tonight. You'll probably want to delete this, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway.
Stop doing that, Jill. Stop creating work for me.
You don't have to. It made me laugh.
I want to hear it.
It was a TikTok video of a guy out walking his dog, and when a woman came up and asked if she could pet it, he said, "Sure, it's really friendly." And then he held out his phone with the tip screen, and she could choose whether to give him a 10, 15, or 20% tip for petting his dog.
That's awesome. Rupert would make me a fortune.
Rupert would make you a fortune.
Next question. How did you and Jill meet?
Oh dear.
Jill was so mean and horrible.
I wasn't mean and horrible. I just didn't like you.
She was mean and horrible.
I wasn't mean to you. I had been doing this obedience for a lot of years when Monique
Moved to Calgary.
tippy-toed her way in with all this talent, and I was like, the hell is this woman? She hasn't put in her time yet. She doesn't get to be doing this stuff. And I was a little annoyed with her and probably a little jealous.
Where did you guys first meet? Was it like at a seminar or?
No, it was in
Dog class in Calgary.
It was in
Oh, okay.
class in Calgary. You had Basil and I had Cooper, I think.
Yep.
But I had known you before that just through the shows when you were hanging out with some other people that weren't very nice. Some other lawyers. Some lawyers who weren't very nice.
But we became friends when we went to a dog show in Great Falls, and I had no idea that she hated me, so whatever. And we were shopping with Jackie, who was our dog teacher at the time. And I do believe that all great dog trainers are very naughty deep inside. So Jackie is very naughty. She's a child at heart. If you're sitting in a restaurant with her, often like a little 2% milk thingy will bing you in the head because she's bounced it off her fork. So that's Jackie. So we're clothes shopping with Jackie, and Jill's around somewhere. And I found a gumball machine that had these big gumballs that dyed your mouth black. So I bought one and gave it to Jill.
Did Jill know it dyes her mouth black?
No, we gave it to Jackie.
Yes, I gave you one first, and then I took a photo of it, and it's still on my phone as your cover photo. So first I gave one to Jill, and then I was like, my knees were buckling. I was laughing so hard. So then we decided to go and give one to Jackie, but neither of us could even stand straight up with a straight face to go and give it to her. But we eventually got it to her, and we're pathetic. Neither of us could keep a straight face, so Jackie instantly knew. But it was really funny.
She kept asking us what was so funny, and we were waiting for her mouth to turn black because she popped this big gumball in her mouth.
They were these giant gumballs.
And she got a dud one. It never turned her mouth colored. So there we are looking stupid, laughing our heads off over nothing.
And then we've looked stupid for the next 20 years. So, hey, it was a good start.
Then we bought Crocs. Ooh, if Matthew's listening to this, he'll get a kick out of this. I bought orange Crocs and Monique bought lime green ones. But we switched, so we each had one of each. And we were standing ringside watching the dog show, and some guy came up and looked down at us and said, "Your Crocs don't match." And I said to him, "I know, that's why we got the really good price on them." And he just looked like he was stumped. He had no idea we had switched them up, and he just walked away thinking we were stupid.
You are, Jill.
I'm laughing more. I can't even imagine Monique in Crocs.
It happened.
It still happens.
Does
have
it?
Here. Yep.
Oh.
All right. What were your first dogs? Mine were pit bulls. Pit bulls, Airedale. My very first dog I bought was a bull mastiff.
Oh, really?
My childhood dog was Dobermans. I started in dogs showing a wire-haired fox terrier in conformation.
How old were you?
And then I got so many terriers. I was 15.
Oh.
And then I showed my Doberman in obedience in England. As I say that, that's a very generous term. I don't even know how I got him in there because he was so badly trained.
You entered him in obedience.
Yeah. I mean, I was a child handler, so they just said, "Super," and handed me a ribbon. Like, please leave with that horrid dog. So my bull mastiff was my first dog. And then I got Sybil Pitbull and Charlie Airedale then Rita Pitbull, and then it was Mandy Italian Greyhound, and Hilda Irish Terrier, Basil Tavern, and the list goes on.
You really started with some different breeds in the beginning, like Mastiff, Pitbull, Airedale. Like, why?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I grew up with German Shepherds, but my first dog as my own was a Pitbull.
I would never have gotten a German Shepherd if my husband hadn't have gotten one, because German Shepherds don't show the outside world how wonderful they are. They just seem aloof and boring.
Unless
and
they're
you don't-
yours.
Unless they're yours, you don't realize how wonderful a shepherd is until you're loved by one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're the most human of all the dogs in their understanding of us. Shepherds are amazing.
One day I'll have a shepherd.
Yeah. Johnny's amazing. Like, he's a super dog.
One day I'll have a shepherd, Johnny.
Jill,
One day he'll just disappear from your property and you won't know where he went.
He's a little hard to make disappear. He's rather large.
He is big. Jill, have you always had Goldens?
I've always had Goldens as my competition dogs. The first dog that I ever did my first dog was a little black Chihuahua Terrier thing that I trained as a kid, shake a paw, roll over. Thought I was an amazing trainer for teaching those kind of things. The first dog that I ever took to a formal class was a little pug cross. She was a hoot. And then I had a white, probably a husky cross or a white shepherd cross, who was an amazing dog, but she was part of a program that trained dogs for paraplegics. So I had her for a while, and then she got taken away to go to a guy in a wheelchair who was, I think he was a quadriplegic, just had very little use of his hands. And then I started getting Goldens. And I've been Goldens ever since.
Was there a certain point in your life that changed you to Goldens, or what made you decide to start there?
I had always loved them as a kid. The pictures of them I was always drawn to them. Those are Irish setters. But when the white husky went away, the next dog in the program was a golden retriever, who I fostered for the program, and then it went under and I got to keep him. But at that point I had already put a deposit down on a repeat breeding of him.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up with 2 of them there, and yeah.
And you've never gone back?
Never gone back.
Haley, was Millie your first?
Yep. I fostered dogs before her, but Millie was the first dog I officially owned.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Her next questions are, what made you get into competing with your dogs? For myself, it was having the right teachers and mentors. So Sybil was my first dog. No, I started actually in Schutzhund tracking with my Bull Mastiff.
No way.
Yeah, I was just done high school, and there was an ad in the newspaper for tracking classes, so I took him.
Was he any good?
Oh, I was so useless. I don't think it bears any narration on what my dog was like. I was terrible.
I'm just not sure I can picture a Mastiff tracking.
He was a Bull Mastiff. Yeah, I can't remember. To me, he was perfect, so of course.
Oh.
The reality is he was probably terrible. I can't remember. My perspective was skewed a little. And then from there, I got Sybil, my pit bull, who had so much dog aggression. And the person who was helping me with her was Kathy Stoner for my $20 half-hour lesson every week, where she watched this dog try and kill hers. And Kathy got me into competition obedience. And
with Sybil?
Yep. Healing changes so much about your relationship with your dog.
Did it help with the aggression?
I think when you have a dog like that, nothing is helping with that aggression. But yes, you know what I mean when I say yes with a question mark at the end. Sure.
As in management became easier.
Yes. She looked better on the outside, but the inside was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Where did you get Sybil from?
Oh, I was 18, so where any smart 18-year-old would get one.
The newspaper?
It was a friend of a friend who had a litter of pit bulls, and the mother had to be taken away from the puppies because she wanted to kill them or something equivalent. I can't remember. But
a great start.
Yeah. And this litter were like fighting at 4 weeks old. So I'll take one. I can love it. If I love it and raise it, I can prove a point that
That'll
So
do
dogs
it.
are safe.
the reason I got Millie is probably the same reasons. I felt at the time I would have argued this, but I think if I look back on it, is because I felt like I had something to prove.
Yeah,
Because
I had a lot to prove.
everyone's got a thing against pit bulls, and I wanted to prove them all wrong.
Yep, me too. Yeah.
How did
Yeah.
you get into competition, Jill?
It would have been a match with the Dropout Golden. So I gone to play around in an obedience match, and Jackie Hasty came up and talked to me. She was my instructor and had complimented me on what a cool dog he was and asked if I had ever thought of doing competition obedience.
That's so cool. I just wish there needs to be more people wanting to encourage people to get into sports.
Yep. Yep.
That's so neat.
Yep.
And I got into it because Monique, who said you need to do more with Millie. She's capable of more. And I did.
Is that back when you were around? Most of my clients were coming from growl, so dogs with reactivity, some with more than reactivity. One of them in that class had grabbed a horse.
Yes.
And all of these people were having fun and didn't want to stop. So they all got put into competition obedience. So I had this entire room full of dogs with dog aggression and dog reactivity. And they all ended up becoming like the novice A dogs. And some of them got open titles. And many of those people are still out there now.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching your competition obedience class. It would be like growl class, and they would just transfer into competition obedience. And I always thought it was so cool to see these people who just wanted to have a normal life with their dogs, and then they got into sport and they really loved their dogs after. Like it just changed their view of their dogs. Like we're capable of so much more.
Now we get to give a shout out to Jody and Murdoch because it's the next generation of growl now. And she was the same. So she had a dog that was scared of the world, would hide under the bed if he thought he had to go on a walk. If she went to get him out from under the bed, he would bite her. And her only goal was to be able to walk her dog. And she just won her 2 novice A classes in competition obedience this weekend. It was so exciting seeing them out there. So
I was almost emotional watching her. It was so cool.
You and I were both choking back tears. It was a bit pathetic.
Nice.
But it just makes you so proud. Healing can change so much. And I'm so disappointed. I'll get slaughtered for saying this. But I don't think CKC did any favors by making the rally class. Because before, people would push that little bit harder to get that competition obedience healing. And it's work. I think rally done well probably has the same benefit. But a lot of rally is not done well.
And you can get repeated command. They are no longer allowed to, like, people used to pretend they had food in their hand.
Yes.
And you would drive them into a down using this food, and people it would be like 6 or 7 times down. I remember hearing one woman say, "Dad's got a cookie for you outside the ring. Down."
No way. And that was allowed?
Yeah. When it first started, it was. So they've changed some of the rules where you're not allowed to lure them.
If they actually have to heal, then I think rally has huge benefits and is a nice segue into competition obedience.
I was just going to say, it's a nice step.
They are supposed to be in heel position, but you can still talk throughout it.
That's fine. That's good.
But then you step into obedience and you don't tell them how wonderful they're doing. And they automatically go, "Oh my God, I've done something wrong. I'm just going to stop." So
it goes from being like an encouragement to a necessity.
Yeah.
Our next question is for me of how did I go from an Italian Greyhound to a Malinois? And in my sport, I started with Basil Taverne. So I started with a Show Taverne, and I did get an IGP on him, IGP 3. I think he got it like 5 times.
Really?
Yeah. From there, I got a working line German Shepherd.
Go back there. What, 5 times?
IGP 3.
He got his IGP 3 5 times?
Yeah, you can keep trialing them.
Oh, wow.
That's incredible.
And so then I got Neville, my German Shepherd, and he had an injury, so he was retired at 3. Then from there, I got Reggie at 6 months old, and Reggie took me to Worlds twice.
That's so cool.
And then I got Johnny, German Shepherd, And Johnny is the most magnificent dog. And I had to retire him at age 3 for an injury. And after having Johnny, I didn't know how I could get another German Shepherd and not compare it to him because he's so super.
So I guess
And
the question would be, how did you go from an Italian Greyhound to getting a Belgian Tavern and getting into competition
didn't.
obedience to IGP?
I went from an Italian Greyhound to an Irish Terrier to a Golden Retriever
Oh, okay.
to a Belgian Tavern, I think.
And
Slowly got more work ethic.
Basil was the first one you did IGP with.
Yes.
But that wasn't your plan with Basil.
It actually was. I was that stupid.
I thought you got him as an obedience dog and then decided
No,
to play.
my husband got his first Malinois for IGP. So I wanted a dog to join him with in it. But of course I couldn't get the traditional breed. So I went for a Tavern.
A show Tavern.
A show Tavern, yeah.
Did you do any CKC with Basil?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to Crufts.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
I knew that.
Did he get his Mach? Or did you
Yes.
stop at Och? He goes Mach?
March, yeah. So his March in CKC, and he went to Crufts, and he goes to IGP3 and tracking titles.
He was such a cool dog. You know,
And
when I
a
first
show
met
champion.
you, he was one of my favorites. He was a cool dog.
He was a very cool dog. Basil was my Bantam Rooster.
Yes.
Fire-breathing dragon.
I'll never forget when he was like old and having trouble moving, and he would have trouble getting into your van, and you would help him, and he would yell at you for helping him, like he was
God.
far too proud for that. Don't help me, I'll figure it out.
He could be such a dick. He really could. Dear Basil.
Oh, I had such a good laugh watching that.
Next question is, when did you realize that you were not the average trainer? And you know what? This is going to sound really daft, but I never did.
As in, you just assumed all trainers were like this.
Yes.
When did you
'Cause I
realize
went
that
to-
not all trainers were like this?
Until I went to a couple of seminars and the people were so boring. And I won't say their names.
Good
but
idea.
I went to Calgary with Jackie Hasty and Pauline Baldwin, and they are such phenomenal trainers. And I'm going to say they're out of the box, aren't they, Jill?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
they're
I
out of the box. That's where I learned. So from there, I decided, okay, I'm going to do pet dogs. So I took ideas from them and what just made sense. And then I learned from Dee Rose, who is more out of the box than Jackie and Pauline. And then who did I learn from after that? I don't know. But I think I've always just had teachers that are outside the box. It wasn't until one day, many years later, I went to a competition obedience trainer with my Irish Terrier. And I was horrified by how boring and thuggish this woman was. And Matthew Twitty, you know who I'm talking about. He feels the same about her as I do. And so I've always, Sylvia Bishop. So Sylvia's so out of the box. These have always been my trainers. So I actually didn't realize other people did not. I thought I trained the same as everyone else.
It sounds like trainers back then, not that it's that long ago, but back then were way more out of the box than they are now.
When I look at pet dog trainers, let's just say locally so I don't get stoned in the square.
You're going
Help.
to.
Help, yeah. There's a reason people should compete. It makes you achieve and aim for higher.
So most of the trainers you learned from were all competing people.
Every single one of them. The only non-competitor I've ever gone to is Tyler Muto, and he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's good.
And
Interesting.
Tyler taught me stuff, but yeah, I think we're just training at such a higher standard than most pet dog trainers.
Interesting.
When you
Seems
have
like
to, when you have to put your money down and compete, it's very different than trying to impress your client.
And that's not even the trainers that aren't competing. They often don't bring their dogs out. Like when I was training, I haven't competed.
I don't bring Harry out.
No, but you have used, over the years, I've watched you use Pippa and
Rupert.
And
Kate was
Rupert's-
out today with day school.
Kate.
Kate spent her entire day out with day school at
And
11 and a half years old.
that's impressive, especially for Kate.
Yeah.
But when I was training, like teaching growl class and whatnot, I often brought out my dogs, Millie and Chloe and Annie, depending on what I needed for the situation. And I think that's so important. I think you need to be able to see the trainer's dogs that you're learning from. You need to see what they're living with and see if that's what you want to live with.
I think it also equally as important as that is you need to be able to see what the trainer can do with a dog that isn't theirs.
I'm with Jill on this one.
Yeah, true.
Haley. I would rather take my client's dog and show them what's possible than show off with my own.
I think you need
However,
both.
I was just going to say, I've had certain group classes that are just, once in a while you get a certain group class of non-believers.
Yes.
And week 1 is difficult, and week 2, you'd just rather run out the room and drive off. And the only way to make them believers is by showing them what your own dogs can do and what you can make possible for them. And then once you have them semi on board, then on week 3, you can start helping them with their dogs. So there is a time and a place to be able to do that with your own dog. I agree. But for the most part, I think people learn more and are more impressed if you could show them what's possible with their own dog.
When I say that I'm using my own dogs, what I mean was if I taught a private lesson, I'd pull out Millie and put her in a down and use her as the distraction.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm sitting here and showing off and saying how brilliant my dog is, but I can use my dog as a distraction to show you what I can do with your dog now.
Right.
So it's both.
Less than a demo dog.
Yeah, I'm not doing a demo dog of watch me as I do a down and all of these wonderful things. I'm using my dogs, and then I would bring Annie out who has way more energy, or I would use Chloe who has way more presence depending on what I needed for that dog to show them what I can do with their dog. So I think we're saying the same thing, but I use my dogs as the distraction.
The other day, I was teaching my clients how to exercise their reactive dogs. One was a German Shepherd, the other one was a Pit Bull. And they both live in fairly places with lots and lots of people living. So they can't really escape and get away from multiple dogs, that type of thing. So if you're with that kind of dog, you're struggling with your activity, it's really easy to bike them and it's really fun. Mm-hmm. So they were all learning how to ride their bikes with their dogs. We were riding around and we came across another dog trainer. And I'm looking at her in the distance thinking her dog's really weird because she's got her dog out and it's moving jerkily. So I was like, I said to my clients, what's with that dog? And then I'm like, oh my no, it was a fucking stuffed toy. And she's teaching a reactive dog, a little white fluffy reactive dog with a stuffed toy that she's jerking around.
Oh my God.
And I get it. Some dogs are stupid enough to believe that's true. But anyhow, we then went biking past them with our reactive Pit Bull and German Shepherd. And the little white dog lost its shit on our dogs and our dogs just biked on past. And it's things like that. Like, why aren't they using real dogs? Like, why aren't you walking the neighborhood and showing them what they can do? Are you expecting them to stand in the back of a parking lot for the next 6 years with a stuffed toy?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, but it's similar because I look at it like if I'm going to hire an interior designer and I go to their house and their house looks like shit, probably not going to hire them as my interior designer.
They're living in a bus with cardboard boxes for blinds.
Like, that's probably not the person I want decorating my house.
Yeah.
So I think it is important that the trainers that you're going to have decent dogs.
You want to see, I think when trainers bring out their own dogs, you're seeing the end product.
Yes, so you're seeing what's possible anyway.
Yes, this is what you could end up with at the end. Now I'm going to show you that I have the ability to teach you how to do that by showing it with their dog.
Yes.
I would also like to say, be careful of dog trainers who make excuses for their own dog, such as he has people reactivity.
Yes.
If you can't retrain your own dog and he needs medication,
yes,
I'm hiring someone else.
This is my point, because all my dogs have had dog aggression or people aggression, and I've never used it as an excuse. It is what it is. I've dealt with it.
Yeah, if I put one of my dogs out the car and it's lunging at your dog, don't give me money.
No.
You need to find someone else.
No.
Well, not for that particular problem.
Yes.
If I have a dog that has dog reactivity and I haven't been able to fix it, I'm not going to try to train your dog with dog reactivity.
No.
Exactly.
I can teach your dog to heel, but I'm not going to I'm not going to try to convince you that I can fix your dog's reactivity when I couldn't fix my own.
Yes.
Exactly.
I don't know what question this was answered.
I'm going to add to that, totally off topic now still. Be careful about dog trainers who have to medicate their own dogs.
Yes.
That's a red flag. All right, sorry, off topic. Our next question is, what are your thoughts on getting a dog at 6 months or slightly older for competition or in a sport? My concern is bonding with the dog to become a team. And I can answer this one 10 times over
Me too.
because
Well,
I've had so many rescues for this. I have had a lot of secondhand dogs in my house. And I think if you're getting a secondhand dog for the purpose of competition, you need to know, need to have amazing feel and know that you're not getting a normal dog that's ready to learn. They're coming with baggage of some type. So Sebastian was my feral dog off a reserve, super dog, but he could never do obedience, like heeling. He was too submissive to hold his head up and too hungry to leave the food alone in my fingers. And it just put him in so much conflict. He just shut down and he couldn't do it. So it was too hard for him. Whereas Reggie, my German Shepherd, I took him to Worlds twice. But Reggie was also a handful, but he was the right kind of handful for me that I knew how to deal with and what he needed. Charlie, my husband's Malinois, was also a secondhand dog for him. He got her at 6 months old and he trained her and he competed with her once and that was it. And he found training her and competing with her really challenging because she had come with some baggage and he wasn't able to make that baggage go away. And coaching from his wife almost got us divorced, so he decided to quit training dogs and instead got a Chihuahua.
Your husband is a smart man.
Bonding wise, though, the bonding part's easy. I think secondhand dogs love you more. They have a comparison point.
I agree. And they're so thankful that somebody who cares about them now has them.
Yeah. Except for Reggie, because he just expected me to do better the next day, every single day of his life.
How old was Reggie when you got him?
6 months.
Okay.
I'd give him a great day and he'd wake up the next day and say, do better. But other than that, all of my others have been like super grateful with their lives. I actually did work. I did have a border collie too. That it was, I think he was a rescue and he wasn't mine, but he was living here. And he was another dog that every day woke up and said, do better. But I think that's only in very strong males. I've only seen that twice and I've worked with so many dogs. But the rest of them adore you. And Reggie did absolutely adore me, as did that border collie. But they just weren't grateful, those two.
They're grateful, but...
No, he wanted me to do better. Try harder. Please me more today.
He was only grateful for the bowl of food he was given at the end of the day.
Not even. He said, I want better food.
No, he was happy with his food. That was okay.
I had two that came. One was 7 months and one was 8 months. And both of them ended up being competition dogs. One got his Canadian UD. One got his Canadian and American CDX. And he was funny because the day I put him in for his open title in the States, I said to him, if you pass this time, you never have to do it again. And he passed. And the next day I was like, oh, we'll just go in and have fun. And we went in and had fun. And he beat me out of the ring on the long stays. He was like, no. You said I'd never have to do this again, and I'm not. But they were both wonderful dogs that I had a super relationship with. So I prefer getting baby puppies just because I love baby puppies, but I don't think there's an issue with getting a 7 or 8 month old dog and creating a bond with it, if it's a dog that's going to be able to bond with you.
So I have zero comparison. All my dogs have been rescues.
Okay.
So I have no idea.
Jimmy came up from Compton.
Yep. Basically.
So Jimmy is a young Malinois, came to Haley, and in that first 24 hours, he jumped up for her throat.
Yeah, the bonding hadn't happened then.
She went from being a food source to his love.
Yeah.
So I think if you're taking these strong males, you need to be prepared that they may be... There's a reason they're in a high kill shelter. Maybe not always.
Not always. Certainly often.
But I always think if I die tomorrow and my husband have to die with me, that he isn't keeping my dogs, there would be no issues with anyone taking Rupert and Pippa and Johnny.
No.
Harry,
Jill
I
will take
have-
Harry.
No, I have gotten to the point now where
Harry's going to Germany to live with Peter and Connie.
Yeah.
They don't know it yet, but he is. There's a reason for the dogs that don't have a place to go. They're more of a challenge. They've got an issue. There's normally something that's not quite right there.
Yeah.
So just know that if you're getting a big, strong breed. Our next question.
Yeah.
With Border Collies, how do you tell the difference between reactivity, aggression, or misguiding herding responses to other dogs? Who wants to start? I'm
Not me.
happy to.
Not me.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. I would say that herding is reactivity, only we remove the bite out at the end. So everything about herding sheep is aggression, but not full on, because we inhibit the bite. But we're teaching them to stalk and hunt, right? And we're just molding it into something pretty where we don't get reported.
Yes.
Okay, I need some
So-
clarification. Hold on. She's saying, what is the difference between reactivity and aggression?
Monique here, listening to the recording after the fact, and I've just cut out 20 minutes of us discussing this back and forth, trying to define these things. I'm saving you all from listening to that part of this conversation because we really got nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's go back to the question because this is all in regards to the responses to other dogs. So I'm guessing her question is, what do I fix with my Border Collie in regards to other dogs, and what do I let go?
I have an answer that would be straight from Nancy Patton.
Okay.
Who cares? Fix it.
I was going to say,
That's-
I know the answer to that one.
Yeah, I'm going to fully agree with that. What does it
Yeah.
matter? If they're
Who
being rude
cares?
to another dog,
Fix
fix
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's easy.
Sorry, Jennifer. Jennifer, now you know why you never want to be my client because this is what they have to live with on a daily basis. But honestly, who cares? And I think that's how dog training's gotten so hard. We spend so much time trying to work stuff like this out. Who cares? Fix it.
Yeah. Who cares where it's coming from? So
Yeah.
we spent 20 minutes trying to answer that question when really it was just, who cares?
Who cares? It doesn't matter. Make your dog lie down. If you see your dog moving towards another dog like that, tell them lie down in a hard voice and make them drop. There.
Yeah.
That's how I'd fix your dog.
Problem solved.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter where it's coming from. Make them lie down.
But
Teach
this
them
can
lie
go for
down.
this can go for a lot of things. Like when people want to say, "Oh, my dog's not aggressive; he has fear reactivity." It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Stop it. Yep.
We don't care the details. Leave us alone.
Yes.
Yep. So, that's not directed at you, Jennifer. But honestly, I would teach your dog a lie down, the same as Border Collie people teach a lie down, so you can do it at a distance. And every time my dog moved towards a dog in a manner that I did not like, they would get a hard voice of lie down, but said with a hard voice, not a soft voice. Border Collies are very sensitive to tone, so you can use a corrective tone and they will understand that you don't like that.
Yeah.
Or
And-
movement toward them as well.
Yep, and that should be a very easy fix for it. Touch wood, because every Border Collie is different.
Do that.
This might be our last question. Actually, it might not be. Nutrition. What are you both feeding your dogs?
My dogs are on raw.
Yeah. Mine are on raw as well.
But I have, in my poorer times, I have gone back to kibble here and there. But I always notice an improvement when I put them back on raw.
I do kibble if I'm going away and someone's looking after my dogs and it's easier for them to feed kibble.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll do that. I honestly, the biggest thing for me, I don't see a big difference in my dogs between raw and kibble. So I'm not the push raw kind of person. But I had one dog that was allergic to almost every kibble I tried. Raw was the only way I could go with her, and I stuck with it. But I cannot deal with the size of the kibble dog shit.
I was just going to say that's the biggest difference.
It
When I put my
grosses-
dogs on kibble, the poos are just outrageous, and when they're
It
on
just,
raw, it just disintegrates in the sun. I hardly have to go pick it up.
yeah, it grosses me out. Plus, I feed my dogs twice a day, and I would rather not be feeding kibble for fear of bloat and torsion.
I only feed once a day.
I do twice.
Jill's nicer than us, Haley.
Oh, I was gonna say, are you the same as me? Am I just starving my dogs?
I can't get my head around the huge meal.
My dogs get plenty of treats and whatnot throughout the day because I'm usually training, but yeah, they get their main meal at dinner time.
Oh, see, mine would be getting 16 ounces of food at dinner time.
Any other closing comments, ladies?
No, this has been fun. I like the question and answer.
Yeah, it would be, I don't know, it would be fun to do a live question and answer.
Oh,
But
that
it
would be
certainly
fun.
put us on the spot.
That's okay.
Monique's, no, don't put me on the spot.
Monique's panicking.
I'm just thinking, go ahead. I'll be in Port Alice.
All right, Jill and I will take over.
No, you'll be joining us.
All right. I'm closing this.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. This has been fun.
It has. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.